Hey guys, it's Ben here from the Strength Factory, and today I'm going to talk to you about aerobic based training, why you should do it, and of course how you should go about doing it to make it really effective for improving your fitness, your performance and your health. So I've retreated inside into my kitchen now because it was just a bit too windy to do any decent video out there. So let's have a look then at some key benefits of aerobic training, i.e. on your body. Now I've actually written down a list because there's a lot of them and I don't want to miss any. So first of all then, increase in mitochondrial size and density. So what we're looking at here is mitochondria. They're like the little power plants in your muscle tissue. Okay, and they are super important for actually providing energy to the muscle that then enables us to, function basically. And the more mitochondria you've got, the bigger they are, then guess what? The higher output you can sustain and also increase endurance. We also get greater muscle capillarization. So if you think about all the blood vessels passing through the muscle, this is like the muscle. Think of it like almost a river network of streams and things like that. Well, the greater the density here, so we're getting more outcrops, more streams basically through the muscle, the better we can supply oxygen and fuel to the muscle. Just like, if we had more streams on an irrigation system, we can get more water into the field. Same sort of principle. We also increase the volume of your blood, which sounds a bit mental, okay? More blood equals more capacity to carry oxygen, okay? And that then increases your performance. We can also develop your slow twitch muscle fibers. Now they're the ones that are good for endurance. And now there's always a bit of a balancing act here if you are a real power dominant athlete. So if you come from downhill, maybe this isn't the video for you. There is a role for aerobic training, but it's a little bit more nuanced and refined. We also improve the body's ability to use fat as a fuel. Now this is really useful because if you're riding all day, doing really long rides or enduro races, things like that, then being able to use fat as a fuel helps to spare your carbohydrate, okay? And then when you need it to do a race stage, an enduro, or just to go a bit harder for a climb or for a trail on a trail ride, then we've got the carbohydrate there ready to go because we haven't used it for the long, steady climb getting up the hill. So we can improve your body's ability to burn fat as a fuel, and that is very useful. We also then improve your body's ability to actually store fuel in the muscle. So if it's in the muscle, it's there and it's ready to go. And so the more of it that's readily available, guess what? The better your performance is going to be. Now, thinking about more central adaptations, okay, i.e. your actual heart, your heart can actually grow bigger and it increases its stroke volume. So what that means is that it pumps out more blood with each repetition, okay? So each time it beats, boom, boom, more blood, greater size heart, and guess what? Increased performance. This can also lead to reduced resting heart rate, which for a lot of people is going to indicate improved cardiovascular health as well. Okay, and all of this again contributes to what we're really getting at is that improved efficiency, okay, which is really valuable to any mountain biker. Other factors to consider then are that it's low stress, okay, and I mean that in every sense of the term. Okay, so training, as much as I love it and it's a positive part of my life, it is a stressor, and the more intense as training is, the more stress it puts on you mentally and physically. Aerobic training is low stress. The greater the stress in your broader life, in work and family, relationships, money, then the less stressful your training needs to be, okay? And so aerobic training can be really valuable like that. So if you put all of the jargon like mitochondria and and all that sort of thing aside, what we're getting at here is that by doing this aerobic base work, we're making you more efficient. You get more miles per gallon if you think of it like a car, and you can then go further as well. So improving your endurance, you can ride all day, okay? Now, this then also translates across to higher intensity training and racing, if that's what you're into. Because when we've got a good and well-developed aerobic system, it really improves your ability to recover between hard efforts. So if you're doing an intense interval session, like a minute on and a minute off, then that minute off, the recovery is going to be improved by having a better aerobic system. Having said that as well, the actual minute on, that's going to be improved as well, because even though that's a largely anaerobic activity, there's still a proportion of that is going to take place aerobically as well. Okay, so we don't have a very strict, it's not an exercise is either totally aerobic or totally anaerobic. Okay, most of the stuff in the middle is a real blend. Okay, you got purely aerobic, a really easy ride, purely anaerobic, basically a max effort sprint for 10 seconds. Everything else in the middle is a mixture of aerobic and anaerobic. So even though we would talk about a minute effort being an anaerobic effort, okay, which it is, there's still an aerobic component to it as well, which is why developing a really strong, robust and big aerobic engine at the start of the winter is really good for giving you the ability to train harder later in the winter and in the spring, and then we can maintain a really high level of physical fitness going into the next season, whether you're racing or just riding. How do we actually go about conducting this aerobic training then? Well, first of all, we need to make sure we're training at the right intensity. So if we go too hard, then you don't get those benefits I just talked about a minute ago, okay? You may get different training benefits, and that's fine, but you need to decide, what am I doing today? Am I doing aerobic work or am I doing harder work, okay? And just doing something in the middle is what most people end up doing most of the time on most rides, which is why they'll make some progress for a while and then it stops. So how do we know that we're riding or training aerobically? Well, the best way for most people is to use a heart rate monitor, okay? And once you set your zones, we're generally looking to be in zone 2, okay, or below. Now, if you don't use heart rate, then a good way to think of it is out of 10, you're going to be working at about a 3 or 4 out of 10, where 10 is you're about to explode, and number 1 is pretty much me sitting here now. The other way to get your pace right for aerobic training is to keep it to strictly nasal breathing only. Now, when you start off, some of you may actually be really restricted by this, and you may be riding quite a bit below what your zones say your aerobic should be. Let's say your aerobic heart rate is 140 beats per minute. You may only be able to ride at 120 or 125 whilst nasal breathing. And then you're thinking, oh, I'm going too slow. But actually, the benefits of working on that nasal breathing and developing your ability to do it, so you can do it now at 125, then at 130 beats per minute, then at 135 beats per minute, and then at 140 beats per minute, and then even beyond that, beyond being aerobic, the benefits of improving your nasal breathing will only enhance your aerobic training. So think about the long game, think about the long term, and if at the moment nasal breathing is a really hard thing for you to do when you're doing aerobic training, then that means that you need to do it even more than anybody else. That doesn't mean it's hard so I'll stop, or as soon as I get around the block I have to breathe through my mouth. That means you need this more than anybody else who's watching, okay? So scrap the heart rate, who cares? Glue that mouth shut, not literally, okay, don't sue me, and get breathing through that nose. Now let's talk duration. Now, a lot of people who are anti-aerobic base training say that it just takes too much time. Who's got time to do 3-hour rides on a school day and stuff like that? And you know what? I agree. If you're a pro rider, it's all very well, you can go out and do that. If not, and for the rest of us, then you're just going to have to do the best you can. I'm always a big believer that something is better than nothing, okay? Can't get out for 3 hours, go for 2. Can't get out for 2 hours, go for 1, okay? But over the course of a week, 2 weeks, or a 4-week training block, we're still accumulating that total time under aerobic training conditions, okay? Working at that low intensities, okay? Doesn't matter if you can't do what the pros do, just do the best that you can and gradually work on it, and you'll gradually see the improvements. Now, having said that, there is a real benefit to going long when you can, okay? So if on a weekend you've got the opportunity to do a 3-hour plus ride that's mostly aerobic, then you should absolutely take that, because that's really going to accelerate your progress in your aerobic training. Okay, now this can be really difficult to do on a mountain bike in particular, because the nature of it tends to be a bit steeper, a bit draggier, and it can be really tough to stay aerobic if you live anywhere with even small hills. Okay, so it may mean, dare I say, going for a road ride or sitting on a turbo or something like that, or just doing an easier than normal mountain bike ride. Another thing that people say about the aerobic training is that you sit there, you're spinning along, and it feels too easy to be doing anything. But hopefully I've already explained that even if it feels that easy, it is having those effects on your body that I described earlier. But to help keep you engaged and motivated, it's always good to be able to quantify your improvements, okay? Because if you think you're just sitting there doing these easy rides week in, week out, and maybe you're thinking, well, what am I achieving here? So it's actually really useful to gather a little bit of data from your rides, and then over the weeks, you're going to see that the training is effective. Okay, you're going to see in the numbers, as well as the way you feel, hopefully, that this training is effective for improving your fitness for all types of mountain biking. Now, a good way to do this is to think about your heart rate against your speed or time. Okay, so let's say you've got a route that you normally do from your house that takes just over an hour. Okay, and the first time you do it completely aerobically, your average heart rate is about 138 beats per minute, let's say, and it takes you 1 hour and 5 minutes. Okay, then we do some aerobic training, and then a couple of weeks later you do that same loop, and you're about the same average heart rate, about 138 beats per minute, but now we're a few minutes faster. Okay, so right there, we're going faster while still remaining aerobic and still at the same heart rate. So there, we're showing that the aerobic training has been effective and that you've become more efficient. Okay, so it's really simple. You don't need like expensive training apps or anything like that. You can just do it in a notebook, just using your like Strava and a watch or something like that, or just using a simple GPS heart rate monitor. So I really hope that I've made that pretty clear for you. At the end of the day, it is simple. Sometimes we all need to ride easy, okay? Which sounds crazy in this whole world of more is more, harder is better, #beast mode, which I hate that stuff, okay? But it is what it is. Sometimes we all need to ride easy, okay? And that is going to help us build our fitness to greater heights in the long run. I truly believe, and it's written into every program I write and every athlete I work with, that developing that aerobic engine is going to benefit you, okay? Whether you're a trail rider or a pro enduro racer or a motocross rider, that aerobic engine and that longer, slower, steadier work has a lot of value. Now, whilst I hope I made it simple, I also understand that a lot of you just want life to be simple. And that is where the online program comes in, guys, the Complete Mountain Bike Program. Because you know what? I've read the books, I've read the scientific papers, I've been coaching for 10 years, I've tried and tested this on myself and dozens of athletes and hundreds of trail riders like you, and it works. So if you're interested in taking your fitness to the next level this winter, whether it's a racing or just to feel good when you ride your bike, then check out the Complete Mountain Bike Program today. There's a link in the description below. Okay, it's covered by a money back guarantee. So if you're not satisfied, I'll send you your money back. Don't worry, it's not going to happen because you're going to love the program. It's all on an app, so it's really user friendly, it's straight to your phone. And basically in a world that's full of stress and craziness, I just want to make your life as easy as possible. We've got smart training, well structured, demanding, but also achievable, and totally in line with my approach of long-term consistency and starting with a solid foundation, okay, of strength, fitness, movement, and aerobic fitness as well.